Hello everybody, my name is Ben the Human, and today we're looking at 64. It's a game by Playosaurus. Thank you for the code to take a look at the game. It's a strategy casual clicker game that kind of transforms into an idle game over time. Let's get in here, I'll show you what's going on. So you have this funny little contraption in here, you click on it and hold down, and it starts to bring these blocks into being. There's kind of a funny story going on. On the left-hand side, you can see there. I'm not gonna read it for you. Basically, you're a person kind of trapped in this liminal space, and your friend can text you, but you can't get out. And what appears to be like a few minutes for you is like weeks or days for in the real world. But you can click. You got to click on these things. We got our hands on a golden block already. Fool's gold. Get some Elmarine. That is the earliest I've ever seen a gold block appear. You can see we were actually supposed to get 512 black blocks so we could buy the stabilizer. So we'll... Basically what happens is you want to gather these resources over time, and you use them to build contraptions that help you gather more blocks, and maybe that'll tell you why you're trapped in this place. I haven't gotten super far in the game, and I have started over just so I could show everybody what it's like from the beginning here. But I have also kind of figured out like a strategy, I think, that works fairly well, at least for me. So the stabilizer, you place it next to a cube to break it twice as fast. So you only have to click on it 2 times, or half as many times to be able to break it. The other thing that's really good to get going is that thing down below called the reverse valve. That keeps you from having to hold down on this, for lack of a better term, it's like a pump. Other people have said that it's helpful to have an auto clicker in this game. I could very much see that. But like I said, you'll see eventually we get to the point where like clicking isn't nearly as important as setting up your system to do harvesting well for you. So we've got 917 or 117. We've got 7 Elmarine. We need a lot more to be able to break things. Oh, we actually have to power this thing with Elmarine first of all. So we weren't actually gaining any benefit from that first use of it. Dig 64 meters down. We're so good at the game. So you see how much faster those ones broke than these ones? So the way I like to set it up is I like to have a row of breakables on this side and that side, and then I like to build my support machines like the channel cooler and other things on next to the pump. So we'll like put a channel cooler here. Not only will that block things from coming up in that square, so it kind of directs where the blocks come from, but it also makes the blocks come up faster, which is kind of nice. The other thing I'd like to get my hands on is that reverse valve down there. You'll see the next thing that comes up is like, it's called like the entropy channeler or something. That's the thing that will break blocks for you, which is really when things start to take off. So we're gonna move along here. We can get the reverse valve now. So we'll power this guy, and that'll keep this guy from coming back up. And now we'll probably get our hands on a second destabilizer when we get enough materials for it, because that'll just help us break both sides twice as fast. One more block. Oh, nope, never mind. We can put it right now. There we go. So now we're breaking both sides pretty quickly. Now the next thing we want to get our hands on is this auxiliary pump, because what that does is it brings the blocks up on its own. We don't need to click on this pump ourselves to bring blocks up. We can let the auxiliary pump do that for us. So, and this is kind of what I was talking about, is it starts as a clicker game and then slowly transforms into an idle game as you set up your systems to do the harvest, or the pumping and the harvesting for you. So that guy has run out of blocks. So that's the other thing that you do have to manage, is these blocks will slowly get used up. They're basically the fuel for your machinery. They get used up over time, and you do have to click on them to put the corresponding colored block in them to fuel the machine. As the machines get more and more complex, they'll demand different colored blocks. They'll demand more, but they also stay fueled for much longer too. And then later, the part of the game that I just reached, there's assets that can fuel your machines for you. So you'll like fill up this repository of resources, and then it'll fill the resource blocks as they become available. So now we have the auxiliary pump here. This takes 8 yellow blocks, but now it's bringing up the blocks itself, which is really cool, because now I can just click on them as they come up, instead of having to click on it and hold this to make it come up. It does come up much faster when I'm the one holding onto it. So if you're like, I really want to get my hands on all of the blocks, you can do that. The other thing that we want to get our hand on is the industrial destabilizer. It takes a lot of materials to be able to get that. But that's when these blocks really start to break really quickly. We're just a little shy from the industrial destabilizer. Add another yellow block there. One more yellow block will do it. And there we go. So now we can turn one of these into this industrial destabilizer. Although I probably shouldn't have done that, because it takes 64 golden cubes to fuel, so a little premature. And now you can also see why people prefer to have an auto clicker on this game. It's because you do a lot of clicking early on. But the deeper so the pump actually tells you how deep you are. We're at 150 meters right now. The deeper you are, the more different colors you will get. So you start out in like the first 100 meters getting mostly only black cubes. As you go further and further down, we'll get more and more Elmarine. We'll get more and more... Well, there's other blocks. There's a purple one. I forget what that one's called. And there's a red one, and there's a green one that I just reached. I believe there's even more colors beyond those. But, yeah. There's a lot that comes into this game, and it slowly, like, builds upon itself. Some people have said they don't like how slow it is. I think it all depends on what your preference is for pace of gameplay. I actually really kind of like it, especially once I got through kind of the initial understanding how the game works. I think this is a little slow for me, but I think it's only because I understand what's happening now, and I'm like, I really want to get back to where I was, where the apparatus was running for me. When you're first new to the game, I think it makes sense to not understand what's happening necessarily. And now we've got the full 64 available on this closest side, so these ones are breaking really fast now. I think it's quadruples the power of resource crushing, so we only have to click a quarter of as many times as an undestabilized block. So I'd like to get another destabilizer, industrial destabilizer on the other side. This time I won't make the mistake and change out the base destabilizer right away. I'll wait until we have the full amount of gold cubes. So the other thing that happens, and you might have noticed this already, is as you build more of the same type of machinery, so we have we had two destabilizers, the cost of every piece of machinery goes up, doubles on itself. So the destabilizer that we want to build is twice as expensive as the destabilizer that we built previously. And that applies to every piece of machinery. So you might think, well, it makes a bunch of sense to have a ton of channel coolers or other things, you know, you might want to make a bunch of them. Well, it does kind of limit you in that you don't have infinite resources, and things get more and more expensive as you build more of them. So it kind of like kind of pushes you towards prioritizing, like diversifying your build a bit and trying to be as efficient with the build as you can without doubling up the machinery too much. Now, when I was playing on my own before I started recording this, I had a system where I did have quite a few of a similar piece of machinery. What I've seen online is very interesting. Is there's been a lot of like different geometrical patterns around how people organize their machinery, and maybe there is like a single most efficient way to gather materials. But I think what's kind of nice about this game is like it really kind of like lets you go at your own pace. If you don't want to be like as ultra efficient as possible, you can do whatever you want. And there's not really like any right or wrong answer. It just might take a little longer. Hey, we got our first purple block, so that's good. That is Canaanite. That allows us. This is the thing that everything revolves around, is the entropy resonator. So I'm gonna drop this guy here. And what this guy does is once we get another purple block, which we just did, we can fuel it, and he will blast these blocks repeatedly and slowly break them itself. So that's the thing that is going to be fueling the whole apparatus here. Is it will break more and more of these blocks on its own. I should really be breaking the ones that it can't help with first. So I'm gonna double up both of these here. Oh, I gotta fuel that guy. See, that's the other thing that I always forget I have to do. The other thing is that there's a better pump that I'm used to. I'm like, these blocks are so slow. It's because I've had like a super pump that forces out the blocks at a much faster rate. But you can see that these things do all the braking for you. Once again, as you get more of them, they will cost more. But eventually you get to a point where the early resources come in so fast that you are not missing out on them. But yeah, early on there's a lot of management, like physically, about how you want to break things to get the materials as quick as you can. So the other thing that we could get our hands on now is this Karenite enrichment vat, which reacts this Karenite with the purple thing to make more Elmarine. Right now, we're not really in the position where we need more Elmarine, but later, as our pumps get really, really deep down, they stop producing these early materials, and you need to start making these material transfer apparatuses, for lack of a better term. And as you read through this stuff, it kind of explains that. It also does kind of give you some hints on how you can do stuff. If I hold Q here, I can clone a contraption. So like I can hold Q over this guy and make another one, put him over there so he can help me break those blocks. I would like to make another Q of this guy. The other thing that you can do is if you're having a hard time seeing like what's behind stuff, you can hold Alt and you will, if you highlight the square that it's on top of, it'll show you what is the machine that's in there. So like I can't really see what this destabilizer is doing, so I hold Alt and then I mouse over it and then I can see that there's a destabilizer back there. It also is nice because it tells you what that piece of machinery does. It also tells you a little more detail. You can see it just by mousing over it, but if you alt, you can see the line a little better. How much fuel is left in this guy? You can see our auxiliary pump has about 25% left, something like that. But now the nice thing is we have so much stuff doing braking for us that we have to click far less than we did before. And when we do, the breakers are helping us break things a lot faster. I'd like to get one more entropy resonator to be able to complete my system fully. But right now we're actually, you know, it might be a good time to go after the Karenite enrichment vat, because we are very low on Elmarine. So why don't we go ahead and build one of these? I like to kind of build it away from my apparatus. Oops, we ran out of that. Basically what this guy does is you just fill with materials, and then over time it will slowly process them into yellow bricks, which is Elmarine. And what that'll allow us to do as we get a chunk of Elmarine in is we'll be able to fuel our reactors more. So actually I'm going to build a second one and fill it. We'll be able to fuel our machines that use Elmarine more, and then we'll also be able to build more entropy resonators. We'll be able to upgrade our destabilizer into the industrial destabilizer. All sorts of good stuff. And the next thing that we're looking on the lookout for is red blocks. And I think it's not hell something. That's green. Red is, I'll just have to see when we see it. You can also mouse over something to pick the demolish tool and then destroy it. Like if I do this and then I were to click one of these, it would destroy one of those machines. I'm pretty happy with this layout, mostly because I experimented in my own time to figure it out, but so I don't really feel the need to demolish stuff. But when I was first figuring out how I wanted to organize stuff, I was having to demolish things fairly regularly, which honestly in the first part of the game is not super good. You don't want to demolish things too much because you lose quite a few resources. You only get 50% of the resources back as you demolish things. There is a building that you can build later that allows you to get, I think it's 80 or 90% of the resources back, but and then there's an upgrade to that building that allows you to get 100% of the units back, so you can tear down and rebuild as much as you want. But for now, we'll try to make do with what we have. We did just get one of our vats to pop, so we got more than enough Elmarine right now to build our 4th crusher, and then our other guy went off, so we can make more. And now the only thing we need to do is build back up our reservoir of black material, the Canaanite. I think Karenite. They all have very similar names. We just need to build up our stock of black blocks again in order to be able to build the last industrial destabilizer. And then all we're after now is red materials after that. I think it's really paced well though, is like by the time you've got all of your original materials down and you've got your layout kind of planned and you know where you're working towards, that's when the next material will generally show up. So you're like, oh, now more buildings, because you don't unlock the next set of buildings that use the new resource until you find one instance of it. We can build our industrial destabilizer now, and then fuel it up. And that might be the last set, these two up here might be the last time we run our vats for a bit, because we don't really need any more Elmarine right now. Everything else we're pretty happy with. I could start working on like the build out of our plan. The other thing that you can get up here is this extracting channel. So we could get another pump going. And actually that's probably the next thing we'll start working on. Is what I like to do is I like to reverse things. So I'll just flip the mirror, I'll just mirror this whole setup over here, and I'll build a pump right next door to this guy. That's part of the game that I found is very interesting, is trying to make as most use of the space as efficiently as possible. So we have enough for another extracting channel, so we might as well just throw that guy down, throw another channel cooler down next door, and then just continue building out destabilizers, like so. And then we'll build another set of entropy resonators. Oh, you actually ran out of juice. We'll build another set of entropy resonators on the other side of these destabilizers so they can start breaking down the basic black blocks for us again. And yeah, this is just kind of the gameplay loop. It's very chill. There's not a whole lot going on, like deep lore or anything like that, but it's kind of fun. I enjoy it. And I'm hoping we get our hands on the red blocks next so I can show off those guys. The pump that the red blocks give you is really, really neat because it makes these blocks shoot up really, really fast. Oh, we have, oh, we don't quite have enough. Still have about 1,000 to go. The nice thing, so the other thing that's kind of interesting is as you build more new pumps, they all have to start from a higher depth. So you start from where you originally started, which is 0 meters, and then they slowly work their way down. So you can see this guy's at 58 in digging, this one's at 365 in digging. And I believe it does go slower the deeper it goes. That guy's run out of juice. The other thing that's interesting is the more pumps we hook up to this guy, the more the the more it uses the energy. It'll push up more blocks from both pumps, but it sucks down the yellow material way faster. This one's already gotten down into the Elmarine layer. I don't remember how deep it is before you hit the red block. I want to say the green block was around 500, so I feel like we gotta be relatively close to the red block. It's very satisfying when you clear all of them like that. The other thing that I really want to get my hands on with the red block is that super pump that I talked about. Is it'll just really make these blocks coming up a lot faster than what this pump is capable of doing. We could kind of supplement that with more of these fans if we really wanted, but I think I'm fine with the way it's going right now. I've just kind of been like supplementing it by putting my own pressure on the pump and then doing it over here as well. So we need to get 5,097 to be able to get the last entropy resonator that I want to get my hands on. If we come all the way up here, now the extracting channel is actually quite expensive at 1,024. It's hard to believe, but eventually the purple block will be very common as well. Right now, it's not super common to the point where we can just yeet a 1,000. At some point, I had, like, extracting channels that were worth, like, 16 grand. I was like, maybe I'm not doing this as efficiently as I should, but I did think it was kind of funny. How much a destabilizer is actually pretty cheap now, so I might want to think about doing that one instead of the other entropy resonator. I think I will do that. And at the very least, it allows us not to have to refuel the destabilizer so fast. Because this guy empties fairly quickly. Which is kind of what we're seeing with the pump. Is the pump only takes 8 blocks, but it clears the 8 blocks pretty fast. We can build the other industrial destabilizer. And now the last part of our setup is getting our hands on the last entropy resonator. We're about halfway to our... Oh, I forgot to fuel that guy. That's the other thing is, as you continue to build out your setup, you'll notice when something goes offline because the blocks will start clearing very, very slowly, or not at all. And you'll be like, what happened here? And it's like, oh, the power is gone. Or like in the case of your pump shutting off, everything stops. You're like, what happened? But that's when the idle part of the game kind of runs in, is once you've got everything really, really set up, you just kind of let it go. Like, I could walk away from this right now, and it would be very slow moving, but it would slowly build these blocks over time, and I could just kind of come back to it later. And it's kind of nice from that perspective, is like, you don't have to sit here and babysit it, unless you want to, which you can. You can kind of hurry it along with all the clicking that I'm doing. And I don't know how deep the lore goes. Like, I've kind of been skipping on what's going on down in the bottom left there, but it might get kind of crazy. I'm not sure. I haven't gotten that far in it. I just know it gets down to green blocks. And things get real wild when you get to green blocks. There's some cool stuff you can do from a strategy layout to make things mine really, really fast. There's some specialized equipment that you can really make use of. We can build this last entropy resonator. Then it's all about this pump, man. If we can get our hand on that last red, if we can get our hands on the first red block, oh, then you'll all be sorry. The funny thing is, as I hold my mouse on top of the pump, it takes the... Oh, I forgot to power these guys up. As I hold my mouse over the pump, it forces up the blocks much faster, but by the time I get around to clicking on them, the entropy resonators have done quite a bit of work on them, making them a lot weaker. So I only have to click on them like once or twice once we've actually forced them all to the surface. But yeah, I'm really liking the game. I think it's kind of neat. It's well made, like the systems all make sense. Yeah, you might argue that it does take a lot longer to clear the blocks than it really should, given like what you're trying to accomplish. But I think they just, you know, you're supposed to just kind of like vibe, for lack of a better term. And it's kind of fun. Maybe there are other... I've never really played an idle game either, so this is like my first foray into something kind of like an idle game. And so maybe I'm ignorant of what a really good idle game does. So definitely definitely let me know what your thoughts are. If you're playing the game or as you're just watching it. You're like, this is incredibly boring. Do something funny, clown. There's nothing for me to laugh at. It's not Baldur's Gate. There's no goofy dialogue. Other than the fact that we're trapped in this space and our friend doesn't know what the heck's going on. Poor friend. That would be very weird though, if you got transported to like another dimension where you break blocks for the end of time. And your friend's like, what happened to you? I'm like, I don't know. I'm making blocks, dude. Legos forever. The reason I'm not spending my black blocks is because I'm really hoping that if a red cube shows up, I can show off some of the red cube buildings. Right at the end here. And actually, why don't I go ahead... I'm actually gonna do something drastic. I'm gonna pause the video for a little bit, and I'm gonna go find a red block, and then I'm gonna bring you back right at the end, and we'll show off some of the red block buildings. So I'm gonna pause, hold on, don't go anywhere. The red block has arrived. It's called Beta Pylene. I totally forgot about that. But it is, we got our first red block about 3 minutes after I paused the video. So not too far away, but you can see. So let's roll down here. We can show off some of the new buildings that have shown up. So we have a Karenite sump, I should say. It's the exact same thing as these guys, but instead of making yellow, it makes blue with black, yellow, and red. We have the material streamer tower, which all that does is move materials faster between the blocks breaking and being stored. It's minor, but it is a quality of life improvement, because eventually you start breaking crazy amounts of blocks and you're just waiting for materials to get out of your screen. The recycling tower is the one I talked about, where if you build this, you can tear things down and rebuild them at cheaper. It's not 100%, that's an addition that comes with green blocks, but you can kind of see what it do. So this is the building I was talking about, the pump station. We want to build more El Marine because that's the only thing we're waiting on, actually. We need yellow to be able to make the pump station. And I'm gonna go ahead and build 2 more of these guys and put even more materials in there. Because we've pushed past most of the yellow layer with this pump here. There is still some yellow coming in from this secondary pump, but we're actually using up most of it in our destabilizers and our pump. So we want to get these batches going so that we can get our pump station and really force the blocks out of the ground. And now you can see that we're actually starting to get a fair amount of beta piling just naturally, because we've pushed past what layer? 481, so, you know, late 400s, and we've got our red blocks coming in finally. And yeah, the pump station is pretty key. It makes the blocks come up really, really fast. And then later, you start getting stuff like, there's a hell cube, or helium? I forget the name of the green block. But you can actually, like, there's machines that punch the green block into the cubes next to them, and then there's machines that break blocks that have green cubes in it much faster, so you actually want to force green cubes into the blocks. It's kind of a wild idea. I don't think we won't get there in this video, but you can kind of just imagine what's coming next. Mostly I just want to get my hands on all these yellow blocks, and I think once these 2 clear, we should have enough to make this pump station, because we're only, you know, 400 away. I think it's close. Yeah, there we go. All right, pump station. So now watch this. Bam. And now, oh, of course. Now I have no power. That's very Ben. It's 256. I for some reason I thought it was like 100 and some. And now I have to go all the way back. This is the other funny thing that happens, is if you build too fast and you build the apparatus that doesn't quite support your needs, you have to go all the way back to like the original way of harvesting, where you force the pump down yourself and then you gather the materials by clicking. Thankfully, our entropy things are powered by blue, and I don't have to worry about yellow, a yellow scarcity for that one. But yeah, you can see how like building a machine too quickly without having the resources to support it can kind of come back and bite you in the foot, which is very much me not having the long-term plan of being like, do I have the fuel for this? Sure don't. Something that's kind of interesting though is the black blocks tend to be pretty available through the first like maybe like 800 meters, and then once you hit red, the blocks turn like fully red. So you'll have a ton of beta piling, and you'll not have as many of the middle blocks as before. Thankfully, there is a machine that converts red back into black, and then you can start the cycle all over again, getting more and more yellow and blue and all that fun stuff. But it is just something different that you have to manage all of a sudden, is you have to put materials. Thank you, we got our new pump. So now watch how fast it goes. Whee! Now it's forcing blocks up like crazy. And like, as we clear these, it pushes them up almost faster than I can clear them with my clicking. In fact, I think it is faster than I can clear with my clicking. So now the whole thing turns into more of an idle game where you are just letting your machines do the harvesting for you, and then you can, you know, walk away for 10 minutes or whatever, do some chores around the house, come back to it, and see, you know, which machines have run out of fuel and then repower them. The other thing that you can do is, as you continue to gain more and more resources, you can start to build out the Karenite pump. For example, so we'll put some resources into that. We don't quite have enough beta piling, but we will in a second. So now we can dump all this in here, and that'll build us purple. And then we'll refill these guys, and that'll make us a bunch more yellow, and so on and so forth. And you just kind of let things run, and you come back to it at a later date, see how many resources you have, build out some more machines, refill your machines, and let them go again. And it's really kind of a neat game. I like it a lot. We could build the recycling tower. I'm pretty happy with this layout right now, though, so I don't really feel the need to. But yeah, I think we'll end the episode there. I hope you guys enjoyed this look at 64. I really like it. I plan on continuing to play it some more, messing around with some of the later machines in the game. But you guys should definitely check it out if you're interested. It's on Steam. Go check it out. I don't think it has a demo. But it's not very expensive. It's like a little more than $5. It's 10% off right now. So I think it's well worth $5 if this seems like your cup of tea. So go check it out. If you guys enjoyed the video, click the like button. It helps me out a lot. If you want to see more first looks or other videos I have going on the channel, subscribe to the channel. That also helps me out a lot. But until next time, everybody, I hope you have a good one, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye, everybody!